Every industry has its own jargon, every culture its own slang, and the world of video games is certainly no different. And whether you're just trying to better understand the gamer in your life or you're diving headfirst into the industry yourself, I'm here to help. Hey guys, Eric here from All In, a Nintendo podcast, and this is the Gamer Glossary. Hello and welcome to Gamer Glossary. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the concept of video game patches. Now, video game patches are a free form of DLC, or downloadable content, and I absolutely recommend checking out my prior video on DLC to learn more. Now, the video game patch as a concept gets its name from what it's supposed to do. The purpose of a video game patch, as you might have already guessed, is to patch things up. Problems, bugs, glitches with a video game. Now, many years ago, when a video game was released, it came out basically as is, and any glitches or bugs that released with it, for better or worse, became just a part of that game forevermore. However, with the creation of the internet and online capabilities, not only do developers now have the ability to continue to develop content for their games, they now actually have the capabilities to address, police, and even solve problems and glitches that are identified in their games post-launch. And they are able to do this by sending fixes to players directly over the internet to their consoles. Now, there's a chance when you boot up a video game, you might run into a screen that looks like this. This is a notification telling you an update is available for that game. That update is a patch. Now, this might be a bit of an oversimplification, but functionally, a patch is a brand new version of a video game with some of the programming code rewritten specifically to fix issues that were found in the previous version of the game. Now, that's not to say that if a patch does get released for your favorite video game that you would have to completely re-download the entire file for that game. No, let's take a real-world example. Let's say that if you cut, your hand, you wouldn't use a full body cast to fix the cut on your hand, would you? No, what would you use? You'd probably use a patch. Now, similarly to the full body cast file sizes of many games, the great majority of video game patches are comparatively and appropriately the size of a Band-Aid, or indeed a patch. Now, the ability to patch video games is something that many developers are incredibly grateful for, because over the course of the long history of the video games industry, as video games have continued to almost exponentially increase in size and scope, it is becoming increasingly implausible to detect and fix every potential problem or bug that a game could have before it launches. And indeed, as games have continued to get bigger, the use of patches has become incredibly more common and frequent. So much so that a great many games go through a lot of patches in their lifespan. And as a matter of fact, there are a lot of games that receive what we call a day one patch, which is a patch that is released the same day as the game. As a matter of fact, they have become so common and frequent that as an industry, we've effectively created an almost universal metric to track the patch history, or more commonly referred to, the version history of a video game. Now, most video games will start off as a version 1.0.0. And as developers continue to release updates and patches for their game, you could see that version history increase to version 1.0.1, up to 1.1.3, maybe even up to 5.4, and even potentially beyond that. And even the concept of patches has been evolving quite a bit over the past several years. I've really only been talking about video games and software so far in this video. However, Indeed, even the operating systems of your favorite video game consoles have been getting patched and upgraded for many years now. As a matter of fact, a lot of these smart devices that we use in our day-to-day lives have been getting patched and updated for years. I mean, when you upgrade to the newest version of iOS and with all of its shiny new bells and whistles, that's a patch. And actually, speaking of shiny bells and whistles, that goes back into the video game landscape, because as the concept of patches has continued to evolve, video game developers have been starting to use patches to do a lot more than just fix problems and glitches. As a matter of fact, nowadays patches are the most popular way to add content into video games. And even more so than that, they've become so prevalent that a large portion of video game advertising and video game marketing has been going to show players and consumers what they can expect and what they can look forward to in the next update, in the next patch for their favorite game. Now, I did mention at the beginning of the video that patches are free, and indeed, upgrading your game to the latest version of that title is free. However, do be aware that the content that is included in many patches these days will not always be free. You may get to download the update, but to get access to some of the content itself may require an additional charge. So again, buyer beware on that. But this has just been a short primer on the concept of patches within the video games industry. I hope I was able to help. And if you have any questions for me about video game patches or anything else, definitely reach out to me on Twitter at allin_Eric. And if you have any ideas for things that I should be covering here on Gamer Glossary, definitely leave those suggestions in my inbox. And to make sure to keep up with all the latest episodes of Gamer Glossary, do please give a like, a follow, and a subscribe to All In, a Nintendo podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I want to thank you all so much for hanging out. I will see you in the next video. And until then, let's never stop trying to be better.